All right, everybody, welcome back. So I had a request today about more information on the weighted AD. Now, this is not an indicator that I can share because I didn't code it and it's not free. It's not an open source indicator, right? So when I was trying to help the person who asked me about it, I told them what I generally do when I'm looking for indicators is I go out on the web and I just run a search. I go to Google and I type in what it is that I'm looking for. And then you know how it is when you go to Google, I kind of fall down the rabbit hole and I go looking for where I can find the indicator. So here on my screen in the lower portion, that's the original indicator. And that's the one that I'm not allowed to give away. I'm not allowed to show you the source code, anything like that, right? Because there are places out there that sell indicators and they've made it very clear if you get caught giving out their indicator, they're going to come after you. And I just don't need the headache, right? So anything that I make or anything that I find on the web for free, I stick it in that Thinkorswim Discord and I offer it to everybody. And I have had creators reach out and ask for things to be removed from that Discord because it was literally written word for word their script, right? And no big deal. I go in and I take it out because I just don't need the controversy. So when I was trying to help somebody today and I told them go to Google, run a search, I was literally doing that myself while I was telling them to do it. And I found a version of the indicator. Okay, so this version is not the same thing. I checked the code. They're different, and they're different in a way that someone didn't just go in and try to rewrite a few words to make it look different. They are different, right? Like there's enough change in there that you can tell it's not the same code. And in this, I also added where I got a lot of the information from. Okay, so there was actually, it was on a Reddit board or something that looks like a Reddit board, and there's a discussion about what's in it, what's it looking for, what's it looking at, and you can just tell if you have the original, you can tell from their discussions that they are a little off the mark in what they're talking about. But this thing is pretty spot on, right? So this one I can share. This one I'm going to end up putting into the Discord and, it'll be there. So pretty cool, right? That's not a big deal. But now, since you didn't buy it, there's some background behind it that you need to know. Okay. It's not intuitive because most of the indicators that we use, they are ready to go. You get them, you use them, you load them on your chart, and that's it. This one's a little different. You have to continuously update this one. So first, let's start with the name. We don't need to call this one trash. I didn't know if it was going to be good or not when I installed it. So, I just called it possibly trash. So this is a weighted AD. And that kind of implies that it's something to do with the advancing versus the declining issues in a weighted form. And that is not true at all. It's not what it's doing. It's actually working with the sectors out there, and it's comparing weighted sectors versus the unweighted sectors. Now, I'm not going to dig too deep into what that means, but the gist of it is it's not an advanced decline line, all right? Not in any way, shape, or form. It's looking at sectors. So the XLs are what most of us use nowadays, XLI, XLY, XLV. And if you look at the code here, it does have XLY, XLU, XLP, and it just has the letters WT behind it. And WT stands for weight. Now, in the indicator itself, there is a website, and we need to go to this website so that we can get the weight off of it, right? Because every sector in the S&P has a particular weighting to it. So here we are on the Dow Jones Indices website, S&P 500. And when I scroll down, we can see, what are the constituents inside each of these different products. And then here are the weightings, right? It's a nice little circle. And when you add all of these weights together, you get 100% or pretty close to it. But every month, these weights change. Right. So then we have to go in every single month and we have to update the indicator with the new weightings. One thing that I always want to recommend to people, check to see when the last change was made. When was it last weighted? So these numbers were last done as of September 30, 2022. And I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess that these weights don't match what's in the indicator because I just downloaded it, right? I just put it into the machine. So I'm going to go through here and we're going to do it live. We're going to change the weights inside of this indicator. So we'll start with information technology, that's XLK. This is all out of order compared to what I use. Staples, utilities, financials, information technology. All right, 26.4. So we just click on that, 26.4. And you do want to go into the code to do this, right? You do want to do that. If you do it on the outside by the user dialog box, every time you load the indicator, you would have to change these weights. And you don't want to do that, right? That would suck. So whether you're a coder or not a coder, just go in and change them in here. It would be much better, right? So we've got one, technology. I'm going to make this kind of float on top so that we can see what we're working with here. All right, healthcare is the next one. So we need healthcare, and it is 15.1. Now we need consumer discretionary, and that's 11.7. Financials. Well, that one didn't change. That's 11. Communications, 8.6. They have 8.1. All right. Industrials. And you can imagine, if we had to do this every day, it would suck. But doing it once a month, you can kind of do it on the weekend. It's not a big deal. And, there's not much to it. Consumer staples, 6.8. They got 6.9. Energy, 4.5. Utilities, 3.1. Now mine, I rearranged these and I put them into an order that kind of works for me so that when I go down this list, I go down the list in the same way, right? I don't like jumping around and trying to hunt for them, but whatever, not really a big deal. Real estate, 2.8 instead of 2.9. And materials, which is 2.5 instead of 2.8. All right, so I think we got them all there. I don't think I missed any. So one thing that I don't see that I think you should have is, when did you last update it? Now I mentioned when you're on the website, look at when the website last updated, but then open up your indicator and leave yourself a note. Last updated on the 24th. That way, if you're not sure, you can just check your notes. Hey, did you do your job? Did you go in there and change the code or not? And if you didn't, you'll be able to tell because it doesn't have the new weights in it. Now, I don't know when the last time theirs was changed, but I can tell you it was really, really close to what mine was showing. So these weights aren't crazy critically important if you don't get them done and you miss a month or two, right? It's not going to be the end of the world. Now, when I downloaded this indicator, the colors were like green and red and cyan, and it had Bollinger Bands built into it. This thing was pretty pimped out with a lot of extra stuff. I deleted all of that stuff. I got rid of it and I changed the color to more closely represent what was already here. Right now, again, even mine is a little custom down here. I added the 500 point because 500 is a level that I focus on, but that is beside the point. So one's using like a squared histogram versus a regular histogram. One thing that's kind of neat about the new one is it has a NASDAQ in it. All right. So it's got the regular weighted AD line, but then there's a non-weighted NASDAQ version. And that was kind of interesting. So I turned it off just for the presentation that we were doing here, but it does have that. And then the one that I downloaded has a positive and negative divergence arrows built into it, which is pretty cool too. I'm not going to add that to mine. I don't want all of them like that. And then it also has clouds built into it. So if I turn that non-weighted back off, we open up the inputs at the top. I added these, it has labels built into it also. So I turned the labels off and I turned the cloud off. But if you want the cloud and you want the labels, then hey, there you go, right? No, it's not a big deal. Now, one other thing that might be a part of this is you might have to turn off show extended hours for the label to work correctly. So now with show extended hours turned off and me turning on the label, you can see what the weight is, what the label is, and you can see the cloud and all that. So there's the two indicators. Are they spot on, perfect example? No, they're not. The coding is a little different. But again, I'm not getting in the middle of this, right? I can't share the original one because I didn't make it. But I can share this one because I literally found it on the internet and downloaded it. And then I changed the open source free version with the colors and the line styles to make it more closely look like the same thing, right? So I'm going to put this into the Discord. You guys can find it if you run a search for weighted AD, right? Because that's what it's going to be called when I stick it in there. So that's it, everybody. I appreciate your time. And I will end up writing a blog post explaining how I read this thing through the day and what signals I use when it comes to trading it.